You own 2,100 rentals. Now, being where you're at today, a lot of people, you hear a lot of people, right, that everybody has such a strong opinion on single family versus multifamily. Like, you got the Grant Cardones of the world who are like, only buy multifamily, single family's terrible, right? And then you have other people like Zach Keeps, right? We both know Zach Keeps. Yep. And he's like, only single family and only in Arizona. And everybody that you see that is big, they are all very set in their ways. Like I've noticed that podcasting and interviewing a lot of different people. You have both.
I have both. Yeah.
So like, now that you're where you're at, do you have a preference? I mean, looking into the future, the next decade, do you eventually want to be more multifamily? Do you want to be more single family? And how come?
Okay, so when I first started, I thought multifamily was like how I was going to get in the game. Mm-hmm. But it was like this massive Mount Everest that I'd never done any hiking training, didn't have the gear for it, didn't even know the right words, didn't even know what a Sherpa was. How dare I go hike Mount Everest, right? However, I go to Camelback Mountain, I do a hike here, and I build up my muscles. And so now multifamily and that big Mount Everest is not as big as I originally thought it was. But thinking I was getting into multifamily is why it took me 7 years to get into real estate. So let's go back to everybody that's doing multifamily. Grant Cardone, really good friends with Grant. I've had 20 dinners with Grant, been to his office 100 times. Unbelievable guy. Probably one of the smartest human beings I've ever personally met, especially when it comes to marketing. How did he start in multifamily? Through single family.
Did he?
Yeah. His first 20 deals were single family, right?
He doesn't talk about it very much.
Of course not. Yeah. Why? Because he's an amazing marketer.
Yeah, sure.
If you think single family is the way to go, you're not going to invest in Cardone Capital.
Yeah.
You're not going to put your money in Cardone Capital. He is so good at this, and he's so good at keeping the one track. And so for me, I look at everybody that's in multifamily that I admire. They all started, other than one person, Ken McElroy, who's one of my mentors. He's the only person I knew that started in multifamily, but he started in property management in multifamily. Sure. And so he's like, I never got into single family because I was in the multifamily sphere. I learned all these people and relationships and resources and skill sets all in the multifamily world. Okay, great. Nobody else has that opportunity. So I always tell people, go where you can make more money. And guess what? When you're brand new, you can make way more money in single family.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's more transactions, there's more relationships, resources, skill sets, title companies, lenders, all these amazing things that are going on in single family. I want to play a game that I can play every day. Whereas I go to multifamily and I'm like, okay, I want to get into multifamily. Perfect. That's going to take you 3 years before you get one deal. And it's such a daunting world. Oh, I got to raise $10 million to buy a $50 million asset. Now I got to learn how to manage leasing agents and deal with tenants and cash flow distribution and managing contractors on a $20 million renovation versus a $200,000 renovation.
Sure.
Single family is where 99.9% of people should start, compound their skill sets, relationships, and resources, and then you have the credibility. Here's what happens on my multifamily stuff. Okay, I have a $20 million deal we bought last year, 160 units down in Tucson.
Sub 2 or regular?
Seller finance. I only buy seller finance or sub 2. I will not do regular shit. Okay. That's boring. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just not my flavor, right? It's like one person drives a Bugatti, another person drives a Lamborghini. They're both cool. I just prefer what I prefer. Yep. So we're talking to the broker. Broker's having a hard time selling the property. Where did I find that deal? Crexy.com. Go to Crexy.com. Unbelievable. I don't know do you know Crexy.com?
I'm familiar, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Crexy's dope because I go to them like 5 years ago and I go, guys, you need to have a filter on your website that says owner finance.
Yep.
And so they go, okay. They add owner finance filter. Now you want to buy hotels, apartments, like land, anything you want to buy. Dairy Queens, car washes, laundromats, you can buy it all owner finance on Crexy. I'm like, you guys should call it the PACE filter. But I was too stupid not to brand it. Anyway, I go on there, I find this deal. The broker we talked to is, selling 160 units. The guy, the original seller, bought it, or he bought land, developed this property in 1985. He's owned it all the way through. He wants a really high number. Why? Because he's afraid of the capital gains tax. He wants to retire. What do you do if you're a seller and you want to retire? 1031 is not the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like if you tell a woman, hey, you want to divorce this piece of shit that you've been married to for 20 years? Okay, cool. Here's what a 1031 exchange is. You go to that woman, you go, you can divorce this man only if you go find a bigger asshole to marry.
Yeah, because it's got to be like for like.
It's got to be like for like, and it's got to be bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't roll into a smaller deal.
You're right.
You have to roll into a bigger asshole.
Yep.
I'm not getting divorced.
No,
I'm going to stick with the bullshit I have.
There, yeah.
So if you are trying to get out of the game and retire, 1031 is not the solution.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose because you either have the capital gain or you roll into another deal that you don't want because you want to retire.
And most of these investors are all mom and pop investors, right? As you know. So I talk to them, they're like switching out the light bulbs themselves.
Yeah.
And so people are like, well, they have managers and why, how is that? I'm like, bro, they're not at the seminars like you and I are. They're not reading books like you and I are. Most of these investors that we talk to were people, they were contractors, architects, engineers, whatever. And their CPA said, go and buy multifamily real estate so you pay less taxes. They go, I don't know anything about real estate. Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's most of the sellers I talk to. Okay. So this seller, we reach out to him and he goes, yeah, I'll seller finance 4%, 10-year balloon, which is great. Because we gave him a higher number. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's getting interest on his money as well. And we showed him how to mitigate the majority of his capital gains tax through a 10-year note. Okay, which is cool. There's gangster strategies that are like so amazing. My CPA talks to his CPA and his CPA goes, how do I do this? This is freaking amazing. So when we're going through that process, here's why I think, I know multifamily is not good for 99% of people. Here's what happens. They go, who are you? What's your pedigree? What's your history? Show us your SREO. Yeah. Most people have no idea what an SREO is. Schedule of real estate owned, which means give me your whole entire spreadsheet of all your net worth. We want to talk to your family office. I have a family office. I have them talk to Ryan Cox at my family office. Ryan goes through and says, here's Pace's tax returns. Yeah. Here's his this, here's this, that. They didn't do a credit pull. I didn't have any money out of my own pocket for that deal, but they wanted to know I knew how to operate the asset.
The track record.
Like, hey, you're going to take over 160 tenants. And so I tell people, yes, you can buy all these big assets with creative finance. The like cutoff for all that stuff I find is about 100 units. Anytime I bought under 100 units, nobody cared about my pedigree.
Okay.
So like I have a 43 unit in San Angelo, 30 unit in Corpus Christi, 30 unit in Dallas. I have a bunch of other, like a smattering of other assets. None of those smaller operators even had brokers involved, and the seller's like, yeah, I'll give you seller finance, no problem. But when you get into the big boys and you start going 100 plus units, like retirement grade assets, the brokers are going to go, what's your blood type?
Yeah.
What's your family name? Where'd you go to college? And so guys, get the pedigree, go get the chops built up. And people don't want to hear that. Why? Because they're impatient.
Everybody wants to go right to the top immediately.
Yeah, I want to go to the top immediately. I don't want to go through the journey. I don't want to, like think about your journey and my journey.
Yeah. You've
done the hard things, but you've made it fun. You're friends with everybody in this industry. Yeah. This doesn't feel like work to you. Everybody knows Austin Zaback because you're the homie, right? People know me because I'm the homie. We go and we hang out. We go to dinner together. This is a fun freaking business.
It is.
I don't know why you want to go to the top so fast. Make friends along the way. As you're climbing the stairs, you'll make some of the greatest friends and relationships you could ever imagine. And I look back now, and same thing with you. If I could take the assets I own, all the money I've made, versus the relationships I've garnered, which one am I choosing?
No question.
No question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got this if I went to the top.
And you could just rebuild it if you had that.
Dude, again, I say this to people 100 times a day. It's never what you know. It's always who you know.
100%.
If you go to the top, you don't know anybody and nobody knows you. So multifamily is definitely the goal. You should upgrade over time. I think Zach Keeps is interesting because he's been such a great friend of mine for, I think about 9 years I've known Zach.
Love him.
He's one of the best.
I think he's been on the show 2 or 3 times.
One of the best.
Yeah.
One of the smartest human beings you'll ever talk to. Lovable guy, funny as hell, transparent, will give you all the resources he has. That guy has helped me in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But Zach Keeps also is like, why reinvent the wheel? It's rolling. For me, I'm different than Zach. Okay.
Yeah.
Zach, what he doesn't talk about is Zach is also invested in a bunch of other businesses that are outside of real estate.
Yep.
Let me phrase it this way. Zach invests in things outside of single family all the time. He just doesn't talk about it.
Sure.
I also invest in things outside of single family. Mine just so happened to be multifamily.
And you talk about it.
And I talk about it. So, Zach's invested. I know he had a big hit. Hopefully he doesn't mind me saying this, but he had a big hit and made a big chunk of money in a cannabis business years ago. And I was like, I didn't know you were in that. He's like, yeah. Like, what do you think I do with all my money? I invest in other things. And it just so happens that I wanted to explore what multifamily looked like. And so I invested in that. I think Zach has found other investments that pay higher dividends than multifamily ever could. And he uses his cash from single family to go and invest in those assets.
Sure.
So it doesn't mean don't invest in other things outside of single family. I just think you have to look at them as two completely different businesses. It's not this or that. It is this, then that. And I don't know a single person besides Ken McElroy or somebody with a really high pedigree. Doctor, Harvard grad, one of these people that got a big check. They sold their company to a private equity firm for $50 million. Then they go into multifamily, go, oh yeah, I skipped single family because that's bullshit. Yeah, bro, you have $50 million. Right? So single family, guys.
Yeah.